Good morning. I am about to wash my face, but I thought it'd be a fun time to tell you how I thought I was dying in the desert the other day. So last week, it was super windy. We've had some really windy days. It's pretty annoying. It's a little bit windy right now. So it was really windy. We had gone to bed, Sheila and I, in the tent, wind whipping around all night, so on and so forth. Overnight, things had blown around outside and were kind of in disarray. And at the bottom of the ladder on my tent, there's a nylon strap with like a plastic buckle. And what it's used for is once the ladder is collapsed, you can kind of loop that strap around the ladder, clip it, and then it holds it in place so the ladder can't extend for whatever reason. Normally I have it clipped because it's kind of long, it hangs. I normally just have it clipped while it's hanging there so it's out of the way. For some reason I didn't have it clipped this time. And I was climbing out of the ladder, or out of the tent down the ladder with Sheila. So I've got one hand on my ladder, one hand on Sheila. She kind of sits on my hip like a baby when we come down or up or down. Puts her paws on my shoulders, you know, wraps her legs around my waist. It's adorable. Anyway, so I'm coming down the ladder. Got Sheila in one arm, holding onto the ladder with the other, and I'm stepping down, and I did not realize, because I hadn't come out yet, that in all the wind, that strap had blown over the bottom rung of the ladder. So there's like the ladder rung, strap hangs. Normally it would be back here, but it had blown on top of it like this. So when I stepped down onto that last rung, I stepped on the plastic buckle and it slipped off the ladder rung, which was not great. To be fair, the last rung of the ladder is about 5 inches off the ground, maybe 6. So it wasn't like a long way down, but it's like the slow motion fall, my foot steps on the buckle, slips out from under me, and I start to fall backwards. And my first thought is, oh my God, Sheila, who would have been totally fine and was. So I'm like, oh my God, protect Sheila. And she's like, fuck this. And she like launched off of me, jumped down, and like went off and did dog things. So I fell backwards. She jumps off, so I kind of turn to try to catch myself and land mostly on my right ass cheek, slightly on my tailbone. More like my actual pelvis itself than the tailbone, but like that kind of general area. So twist back, land on my ass. I had a hoodie on and my arm kind of hit the ground, so I got like a rug burn kind of thing on my arm. And then my love seat had blown over in the night, and the little plastic like foot on the bottom of the leg was kind of there, and so I hit the back of my head on this plastic foot thing. Not hard, like I had a little bit of a bump, but it really didn't hurt, not very hard at all. Really my ass hurt more than anything. So I was sitting there on the ground. I'm like, well, that fucking sucked. That was stupid. Sheila, to give her some credit, did come back at this point and was like, hey, what's up? And she was like licking my face, but I really think it was more just because I was on ground level, and when I get down at that level, she's like, give me attention. So I sat there for a minute. I'm like, ow, my ass fucking hurts. My head hurts a little bit, but whatever, I'm fine. Didn't think anything of it. Totally thought it was okay. And then I started thinking. The night before, I had been texting with my sister, and we were texting about Bob Saget, because I had just read that they released his like cause of death, and they said that it was from head trauma, and that he must have hit his head on something, not thought it was a big deal, gone to sleep, and then just never woke up. I hadn't read any additional information at that point. Like later, I read that he had like fractures in his skull, and it was like severe head trauma. It was not like a little bump like I had, but I started thinking about that. I'm like, oh my God, this is how Bob Saget died. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm out here in the desert all by myself. I'm like, what if I have a concussion? Am I okay? Should I walk over to my neighbor's trailer and ask them to take me to the hospital? And so all these like stupid thoughts. Maybe not stupid if I was actually hurt, but looking back now, it feels stupid. So all these thoughts, I'm having all these different thoughts about my impending doom, and this is where the trouble starts. I have a thing called vasovagal syncope, which is not like, it's not like an illness or anything, but basically my body overreacts to stressors, like pain, kind of like seeing blood, not blood itself, but like internal stuff. Blood is generally okay for me. But what happens is your body overreacts to some sort of stressor, and then it's like, shit, and then your heart rate and your blood pressure drop rapidly, and you usually faint. So I'm a fainter. I faint all the time. Literally at this point, probably dozens of times in my life have I fainted for various reasons. And because of that, I know when it's coming. I know the signs. I know what it feels like. I know. So I'm sitting here panicking, thinking about how Bob Saget died. And I'm like, oh my God. What if I think it's just a little bit, like a little bump, and then I die in my sleep tonight? And then my body starts to go into panic mode, and I'm like, fuck, I can feel it. I'm starting to get like the kind of lightheaded feeling. I'm getting a little bit queasy. I'm starting to get really hot and sweaty and clammy. So I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I am not gonna faint out here in the fucking desert by myself, am I? So I lay down on the ground. I've got this like fake grass mat, and I lay down on that, and I'm trying to, you know, wait for my blood pressure to go back to normal, the blood back up to my head. And I'm laying there thinking I'm feeling a little bit better, and then no, I'm feeling a little faint again. And then I start to get really hot and sweaty, and I'm like, shit. So I'm like ripping off my hoodie, and I'm like pulling up my shirt to like expose my stomach, and I'm just covered in sweat, and the breeze feels really good and it's cooling me down. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. I think I'm gonna be okay. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, someone was driving by with their side by side. Anyway, yeah, so I'm laying there, starting to panic. Feel like I'm gonna faint. And then I'm like, oh my God, should I call somebody? And I know generally, like, when I faint, it's fine. Like, I mean, not generally, always. It's always been fine. I might faint for a minute or two, and then I regain consciousness. And I usually have to lay down for a while until my blood pressure goes back to normal, but I'm otherwise fine. So I'm laying there, and I look at my watch to see what my heart rate is doing, and it's like 89, so it's a bit high, especially because I'm just, you know, since I'm just laying on the floor, it shouldn't be that high. So it's a bit high, but otherwise okay. And then, if you've ever fainted, you may be familiar with this feeling. So when I black out, I always feel like I vaguely remember like a sensation, almost like a dream, but it's not. Like, I can't really remember it once I'm awake again, other than like a sensation of that I'm like falling or flying or something. And so I'm laying there on the ground with my eyes closed, trying to not pass out. And I just looked at my watch, and then I open my eyes, and I feel like I've lost a train of thought. I'm like, I feel like I was thinking about something. I was thinking about something, but I can't remember it anymore. But then I'm like, oh, I do kind of remember that sensation. I'm like, damn, did I faint? So I look at my watch again, and my heart rate's significantly lower. It's now in like the 50s. So I'm like, shit, I may have fainted. So I checked the app on my phone, because I have like a Garmin watch, so I have like the app and I can look and all that. So I look at my app, and sure enough, at exactly 8:18 that morning, my heart rate went from 89 to 49. For just about 2 minutes, while I lost consciousness. So that's exciting. Yeah, it would probably be scarier. I know I'm pretty nonchalant about this. Like, it would probably be a scarier situation if I hadn't done this a ton of times in the past, but like I said, I'm a fainter. I've done it a lot. Don't you love this tan line? Just like right there, super white from sitting out in the sun all day. My hat covers, my chin covers. It's an exciting tan line. But yeah, that is how I thought I was dying out in the desert. Sheila, not great in an emergency. She came over and was trying to give me a little bit of attention. She's like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you laying on the ground? But it was basically the same attention she gives me when I try to do yoga. And she wants to be like in my face. So I don't feel like she was really trying to assist me in my time of need, which is unfortunate, but not unexpected. Yeah, so don't faint in the desert. But if you do, hopefully you have a better emergency companion than me. Anyway, that's my story.